right, so Dr. Steve Perry is the founder and principal of Capital Prep Magnet School in Hartford, Connecticut. His school has been recognized by U.S. News and World Report as one of America's best high schools. He is CNN and MSNBC's contributor on issues relating to education and can be seen regularly on Anderson Cooper 360 and American Morning. Dr. Perry's latest book, which I have read, and I would strongly encourage that folks, anyone involved in urban education, take a second and read it. Push Has Come to Shove presents his provocative and potentially transformative ideas on how to restore America's schools to greatness. He is also the author of a best-selling self-published book, Man Up. I've also read that book. A columnist at Essence Magazine, a frequent radio and television commentator, and a sought-after speaker at colleges and education forums around the country. He is the host on TV One's television show, Save My Son. And most recently, he has been featured on Oprah Winfrey's Network's Lifeless series, which I've recently caught. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Dr. Steve Perry.
All right, so you don't know this is happening, but I was reading his book and I had this idea. So you're too young to know this old show, This Is Your Life. But I have somebody hiding behind the screen that said, don't look, man. I don't know her. Don't look. Who will say a word or two to you, and then I will bring this person out. Can the person hiding please start talking to Steve Perry?
Hi, Steve. Do you remember a time in the winter of 2002 when you came up to my office in a rage and anger because you couldn't come back to school that semester? You had run out of money with one semester left to go, and what I remember is you were afraid to tell your mother what had happened to you. And you and I sat down and we solved that problem, and I said to you, the only thing I hope from you, Steve, is that you will go out there and change the lives of people just like you. I'm really, really happy to see you here today.
I'm not coming here with y'all anymore. Damn, man. That's not cool. So, those of you who are so cheap you didn't buy the book, what President Carruthers is telling you is that when I was in college, damn, man. Wow. So when I was in college, my father was in prison, and people kept telling me, you need internships like you guys. That you need internships, and so I took a couple internships during the summer, and I worked in for darn near nothing, and my mother, who we were still living in the projects, and so I had done everything I could do on campus to make an impact. I'm light skinned, but I'm jet black inside, and so I was, trying to make a difference on our little campus, and I ran out of money. It's the whole story. I just was out, and I had a friend. His name is Doug. Never told this story for real. Like, I always kept the names, but it didn't mess me up, man. There goes that speech. So my friend and I, he had lived in the same project that I did, and so he said to me, he was a drug dealer, and I wasn't morally opposed to it. It just wasn't for me. I didn't do it, but it just wasn't something that I thought I wanted to do with my time. I felt like, one day I wanted to be somebody. And so when I would come home, Doug and I would go through this thing where he would say, he'd call me college boy. College boy, you need some money? And I would tell him no. And then he would say, stay in college because I might need an attorney. And I would tell him, stop selling drugs and you maybe won't need an attorney. So we went back and forth each and every time. And I, like so many of your students, remembered the last real big fight that my mother and father had. It was around whether or not they were going to give me, I think at the time it was like $500 to go to school. And they had really, they weren't married, but they had fought physically before, and they were going to do it again. And I just said, I'll never ask either one of you for another dime. So I was out of options, and so this semester, good people at University of Rhode Island do send, that's my alma mater, they do send those bills, and they do mean it. Rumor has it, they won't let you register if you don't pay them. And so I had kept it from my mother that I wasn't going to come back to college because I didn't really have an answer. I had done all the things that you were supposed to do. I was on the dean's list. I was doing what I thought was the right things. I said no to everything. And so when I went home that one last time, I saw my friend. And he said, the same thing. He was like, college boy, you need some money. And I had taken all I had were clothes at the school. I didn't know people had luggage. Like, I didn't know. I thought everybody carried trash bags. So I was, I would call the custodians, it's time to move out. Hook a brother up. So I had moved out all my stuff, and it was the last of my stuff. It was just clothes, and my mother didn't know that I was moving out. I had one semester left. And so I had I had run into my friend, and he said, he asked me how things were on campus and did I need some money, and because he was always, really generous. I guess when you work that hard for money, you give it away. I'm not that generous. And so I said to him, you don't have the kind of money that I need. It was a Friday afternoon. It was cold, it was, like December-ish. And we're standing outside, and he says, well, how much do you need? And I figured if I told him the number, that he would just let it go, and I wouldn't have to answer the question of really what I was going to do with the money if he actually gave it to me, because I knew he would. It wasn't I know some of you think that, you think about the TV drug dealers, like, you owe me this, right? That's not that. It was my brother. Like, he was my brother, and he was going to give me the money, and that was just going to be the end of the story. And he wouldn't have told anyone ever. And we would have just gone on, and I would have gotten a degree, and life would have been on. And so he said, I said, $3,500, which was like $7,200,000. It was just right. I might as well said $40 quadrillion, right? And so he's like, wow. He said, can I get it to you by Sunday? I was like, ugh. So my father's in prison. My mother finally moved out of the projects. And so she's working 2 jobs. And I told her I'm never going to ask anybody for money anymore. So I said to him, nah, I'm good. And as the words left my mouth, I knew that I had just dropped out of college. I knew it was over. And it made me so mad. Because I didn't do anything wrong. but be born poor. That's the only thing I did. I didn't do anything to anybody. I didn't get in trouble on campus. I was a good dude, you know. Even if she had come up here, she would have said the same thing. I didn't know they were friends. So I went home and I did what I did, and then to avoid him, my friend, because he was going to come by the house, I left early. I left home early. I went back Sunday morning. And all day Sunday, I was just pacing. I just couldn't believe it. All these kids were on campus, and they were just, talking about where they were going away for break, and I just hated them. If you went away on vacation when you were in college, I hated you. Just want to point that out. I thought vacation was like going to your cousin and them's house and sleeping on something flat. Like if you got a rug, you were really chilling. If you got a couch, you were like, whoa. Beds were out of the question. So when I got back to school, I was taking the very last parts of my room apart, and all there were some posters. And I had a poster of Martin Luther King, and I pulled that down. Then there was a poster of Malcolm. It said, "By any means necessary." And I started to pull it down, and then some expletives appeared in my mind. And I just let it fall, but it didn't come off, and I walked out. It was now Monday morning because I was up now. And I walked in to this guy's office and made a scene. I do not suggest you do this. Middle-aged white ladies do not like when you act up in the president's office. Your black ass will go to prison. And so I was out of options and didn't really care. And he heard the discussion that was occurring outside his office. The president said, she had dialed 9-1. She wasn't wicked far from dialing the 111. So he heard it, and he asked me to come in. And as he said, so what happened was I told him the story about how I'm going home, and I think this is BS. I didn't do anything wrong. And all these other kids are here 6, 8 years, chilling, partying, down the line. It's a place where they live off campus at URI. And I didn't feel like that was right. I had done everything that everybody had asked of me. And I felt like it was just wrong. So he, like my drug dealer friend, asked me how much it was. I told him. There was a pause. And he said, "I think I can help you." And I didn't even hear him say it, because I was like, this guy. And I didn't even go to ask you for money. I didn't. I just came to let you know that I felt like it was wrong. And I would go home and I would take my lumps and I would do what I had to do. But it was wrong. And I didn't think that that's what you do to somebody who works hard. And so the president said, I think I can do it. I think I can come up with that, he said. And I didn't hear him. I'm looking at him. What did he just say? Is he trying to play me? Because at this point, I'm ready to just fight. Like, if I'm not going to stay, I'm going out a blaze of glory. So he said, but there's one condition. You can tell. What was the condition?
I said to Steve, if you leave here and you get a degree and you go out into the world, what I want you to do to repay this loan, wasn't it was a gift, was go out there and help other people just like you who need what you need.
And so people always ask me where the passion comes from and why I do what I do. I owe this man so much. He had seen me a couple times on campus, and there was almost a riot one time when Spike Lee was there. White kids said all the black kids weren't smart. They were like, oh, no, he didn't. So I stood up, said, if you touch him, you will prove everything he said wrong. And young man, if you ever want to compare GPAs, holler at your boy. And he remembered that. But he made it possible for me to do what people like you send your children out to do when they're done with you. In a million years, I can't thank you enough, man. I really can't. I really cannot thank you.
Thank you, President.
Give it up for the president, please. This is not for me. Well then, you're a funny guy. Now that I've cried more than I've cried in like the past 30 years, you know, what's imperative to me that you understand is that you matter. You are the only thing that stands in the way of success and failure for a lot of young people. You are the hope of the communities within which you work. The power that you possess is beyond comprehension. So many of you do what you do because somebody did what you do and made it possible. Either they inspired you because they gave you a shot, or they inspired you because they didn't. You know, I am among the few who have had the opportunity to experience the things I've had the opportunity to experience. But I think what's most important is that we have a conversation. Because your work is the most important work that there is. You give people hope who don't have hope. See, every single child that was sent to you is the very best that that family has to offer. Now, they may not always appear that way, but that is what they are. And don't think for a second that I don't get it. I know the little middle school girl who wakes up funky. Like, she's just got the worst attitude on earth. And you're thinking to yourself, damn, girl, it is 7 a.m. Who are you this mad at? She walks in, face all twisted up. Or the mother who comes in pajama pants and the top with no bra. It's never the ones that you want to see like that. You sit there and just scrub your eyes the whole, you see the negative of it the whole night. Oh my. Catch yourself when you're quietly sitting there. Oh God, what was that? You understand that it's our obligation to see their full humanity, to see them beyond the places that they are, into the places that they could only have dreamed to have been. I spoke to a number of your students a little while ago. And Angelo said that he wants you to push him so far that it scares him. You don't have to push far to scare a child who doesn't see themselves beyond where they are today. Simply suggesting that they could go to college is scary. It's strange, really, what our community is actually scared of. We scared of dogs. We are petrified of dogs. Black people and dogs, man, we just don't get along. It's amazing what we're afraid of. Sisters scared of swimming. Explain that to somebody next to you. Everybody ain't gonna get that. But our greatest fear among our children is to be great. So many of the poor children with whom you work are most afraid of being smart. How frustrating is that? To look into the eyes of somebody who might have a cure for cancer and they're afraid to raise their hand. Now, they're not scared of the drug dealers, and they're not scared of the gang members. They're not scared of that. But they're afraid to raise their hand to answer a question in math or critical reasoning, as you refer to it. They're afraid of presenting themselves as so much further ahead than anybody for fear that somebody will say that they think that they're better than somebody and therefore they won't be that good. That they're afraid of trying. They're afraid of taking something home and giving it a shot and failing at it and continuing to go. Because somebody at home is all too willing to remind them, I'm bad at math. I was never good at math. Or they don't teach it like I learned it. Yeah, I've tried that one too. You know it's tough when your son goes to your school and comes home with homework. And you're like, I don't know how to do it either, dude. Well, can't you call him? I kind of don't want to. I'd prefer we keep this between us. My 5th grade son and I last night were working on something, and he said, I think he was trying to play me. He said, well, Dad, I'll just tell him that you and I tried it and we couldn't get it. You can't do that with broken legs. You have to understand that you have an obligation to see beyond where a child is into a place that they could only dream of being. In fact, beyond the place where they dreamed of being into the nightmare that is success. They're scared of being successful. They're scared of being middle class. They're scared of making the decision to no longer be with the people who they've always known. They're scared of separating themselves from the people who are supposed to love them. So scared that when they go to college, somebody calls them home to braid somebody's hair, they will leave the night before an exam. So scared not to answer the phone call that they will answer the call and take the little bit of money that they have and send it home to somebody who could have made it themselves. Your children are afraid of being alone. See, if you've never had to step outside of your community in order to chase the sweetness of success, you don't understand what it means to be afraid. What it means to be afraid of success means that you somehow find a way to dummy yourself down, to make yourself small so that other people won't see you as better than them. Now, I happen to believe that you do know what this is like because you have friends who work in other schools that suck. And you don't often want to tell them that that school couldn't teach a fish to swim or a dog to bark. you don't want to be one of those gloating people. See, the very same way in which you try to avoid presenting yourself as being so successful, your children don't want to do it either. They feel as though they're somehow being haughty by simply projecting the beauty that they have on life's screen. They would rather have somebody think that they're unintelligent and unsuccessful than to tell the world that they are bright, brilliant, and amazing. They're not here, though, so I'm not here to talk to them. I'm here to talk to you. Every time somebody begins a conversation about education and you don't talk about how important it is that children have school choice, when you don't stand up politically and speak your mind, when you stand down when someone talks about how hard it is to teach, it's so hard, like it's impossible, right? When someone tells you that children don't want to learn, when somebody blames poverty for children's underperformance, and you don't say, well, wait a minute, I got a couple poor kids in my school. In fact, last time I checked, all of them were poor. Or when they tell you the reason why the child doesn't come to school is because they had to take care of a younger sibling, or they couldn't come because they didn't have the money for lunch. Every time you hear somebody spew another excuse as to why your children cannot be successful and you don't speak up, you are no different than the child who will not raise his hand in class. In fact, the only difference is that you're worse because you're a grown person. But see, like the children, you don't want to be alone. Nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants to be validated. Oprah said to me that everybody wants to be validated. She told a story when she spoke at the Harvard graduation that the one thing that everyone does after an interview, no matter rich or poor, great or small, is they all ask, how did I do? Your kids want to belong to somebody. They want to feel like they're part of something. They want to be connected to something. Every great school I've ever seen, the children speak of it in one way. They call it a family. Every single great school, the children refer to it as a family. They talk to it as a family. There's a family, the family, the family, the family. And they call you, they'll call you auntie and miss, you know what I mean, right? Right? Don't worry, this time I'm not crying. I actually have something in my eye. Finally. Your children have an excuse, and that is they don't know any better. But you do not. See, because what you do for your children is you make them feel like they belong to somebody. And in speaking to some of your students, they talk about advisory. That's what they talk about. This advisory, and it's this relationship that they build with you, and it's the relationship. And the power of that relationship compels them to go beyond their circumstances. Do you understand what you're doing every single day? You are taking a kid beyond his wildest dreams into his nightmares of success. You are taking beyond his wildest dreams into his nightmares of success. The nightmare of success is to be alone and separated from everything and everyone he knows, to be typical. It'd be so much easier for him to get a job somewhere doing something that everybody else does or not. But you say, nah, man, that's not for you. When I was talking to Zaire, he talked to me about how his advisor would grade him differently than others. He said he hated the school so much at one point he wanted to leave. He said because y'all kept pushing him too hard, kept making him work too hard. Those were not his dreams. His line was in a different place, y'all. He was here. You pushed him out here. He's on a full scholarship to Morehouse. Are you kidding me? As a child, he could never have seen this for himself. You put that there. Every time that you would not allow him to stop, every time you dared him to look beyond his circumstance, every time he said, nah, Chief, that's not it. And every time he came back with an explanation, yes, that's what, no, afraid not. Homeboy, give another shot. Every rewrite, every edit, everything, when you push your students beyond the place that they think success is, you're pushing them into a very scary place. And the only reason that they go is because they know that you're there. No child, especially in high school, actually has to come to school. I mean, let's be honest, right? They just won't come. They don't want to be there. They just won't come. And we know the students who are the most trouble come every damn day. You're like, this mug, what are you doing here? Dude, you know we don't have schools on Wednesdays at all anymore. No, for real, it's a new rule. We don't have school on Wednesdays. And you got an internship on Fridays now. Did you know that? No, for real. You do not have to come back, son. The ones who are the most difficult come every day because you're there. We opened a primary school at our school, and you know, contrary to what you've seen today, I'm not typically built like this. And so the little kids are really big on affection. Whoa. So the little, you know, they'll come running full speed. The little ones, they don't care. They come running full speed for full contact. I don't even know if it's a hug. I think they're trying to take a brother down. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like, you know, she's lowering her shoulder like she's about to dip it and live, about to take me. But they come, they're running, and they just, whoo, and they, you know, you got to turn because they get you. Got to wear a cup to work these days. You turn, or you got, right? You got to, or you give them the stiff arm. I'll take a little. You be 5 years old with a handprint on your forehead. And so they come, right? And they come and they, you know, and you're like, Kayla, you got to let go of Dr. Perry's leg. And they, you know, and they get it, Dr. Perry. And they, Mr. Dr. Perry. Because they think my first name is Doctor. Mr. Dr. Perry. And the little ones, they always have something on their hands. You're like, I just washed you. Why do you, what's the green stuff? I don't know, Mr. Dr. Perry. Can I have another hug? No. Hug Mrs. Ferguson. She likes it. Mr. Dr. Perry's dry cleaner doesn't like it when you do that. And the big kids are no different, though. They don't run and hug, but they'll do, you know, they want, you know, the big ones there, right? Get this big boy, he's like 600. He's standing next to you, taking up all this space. Like, boy, why are you standing next to me? I'm not standing next to you, you're standing next to me. Got this entire gymnasium, son. Why are you standing here? I was here first. They want the same things, and you say to them, you just want me to touch you. I do not want you to touch me. You do. You sure do. You boy, oh, come here. And they're like, but they don't move, right? The reason why they go through their wildest dreams of success into their nightmares is because they know you're there. And they know you love them. To me, the real purpose of a gathering like this is for you to realize that you're not alone. It's real easy when they're beating you up in the little raggedy school system that you're in, dysfunctional on every level, superintendent's names written in chalk. Like, we got a new superintendent. What time is it? Go to a board education meeting, you're thinking, wow, I didn't know there were this many IEPs on the board. You bring me, you give me the mic, it's your fault. you are in these communities and you are doing what people say cannot be done. They're telling you that your children don't exist. You cherry pick them. From where? Right? You're like, they came from your school. I picked them from what? Their sister goes to your school. Their parents are more involved than the kids who come to your school. Really? Yeah, okay, I'll give you involved. Parent will say, I'm going to call my husband. Hey, number one, he's not your husband. I'm going to come down there and do what? Get locked up? They don't want to give you the credit for what you do, the amazing things that you do, because to do so is to call into question the failures of their school. You know that our children are brilliant. I don't understand how people don't fall madly in love with our kids. I don't get it. I like the fact that our boys smell horrible. Teenage boys, they're just, oh my God. You might as well put a pachyderm in your car. You just think, dude, did you see water today? Did you even wash your hands? You say to them, because you never thought in your wildest dreams, if you have one of these at home, you understand what I'm saying. You got to tell them to go take a shower, and you have to explain every step. Go upstairs into the bathroom. Turn on the water. Get in. Use soap. Wash your, right? You got to go all the way through. And then you think, then you hear the water go on. You hear him go and you think, I did not tell him to take his clothes off. And you go upstairs, he's standing there fully dressed. Shoes, everything. What? I don't understand how you don't fall madly in love with these. I recognize I'm talking about love, not like, because it's hard to like kids. Because sometimes you want to, you understand what I'm saying? My sons go to my school, which means that I get to do things in the principal's office that I've always wanted to do. It could get real greasy. You are the reason why they enter their nightmares of success beyond their wildest dreams, because they know you're there. Well, just like they know you're there, you have to be there for each other. There is no reason why you should leave this place without knowing quite a few people who you can call on, who you can depend on, who you can reach out to, who can make you feel like, you know what, you ain't crazy. This is how we do it. This is what Big Picture does. This is how we exist. This is what you are. See, because when you don't do that, you leave each other out there. And just like those kids who don't want to raise their hand, you're people too. And many of you will stop too. Many of you will stop trying because everybody in the district is telling you it can't be done, and next time they come in and the next superintendent wants to make your life miserable and try and make your job harder and harder and make you fight between what's happening in the central office and what you guys know to be tried and true and what you've seen work all over the world, and they're trying to tell you how they do it in their district, and you're thinking, but you suck. Why should I listen to you? You run one of the worst school systems on earth. You, just like the child that you inspire, have to be connected to somebody. And when you're connected to somebody, that gives you the opportunity and the wherewithal to speak out. We, the education reformers, are too silent. We don't speak up when people are having conversations about teachers and education. We don't have a say. We just stand back and allow, whether it be teachers union or somebody else, to speak on our behalf. When in most cases, if you work here, they ain't speaking for you. In fact, they're speaking against you. In fact, You don't have to clap. I got to ride back to the airport. But thank you. Their very existence is to ensure that you don't exist. They exist to prove that everything you spend night and day doing, when you come in early and leave late, when you and your kids are talking at 10, 11 o'clock at night on the phone about how to do a problem, when you're working them through something that's going on in their mind and hearts, when you're waking up on a Saturday morning or you're going to somebody's Sweet 15 and you're doing something that you feel and you and your family is saying, hey, man, where you going? And you telling them about the kid whose house you have to go to, or when you going to Sam's or Costco or wherever you going and you buying all these granolas because nobody eats that many damn granolas. Because you got to have a drawer in your office, in your classroom that supports the children because kids eat all damn day. They graze. They just don't stop eating. You can't stop them. You're like, wow, you're still eating in your sleep. Every single time you do what you do, they need to prove to the world that you don't exist, that your children are not real, that somehow you've done something funny with the numbers. They're not supposed to get those scores because they spent 2 days out of class and 3 days in class, and there's no way that this could happen, and how did you do this, and you cheated on this, and you did from that, and you become the worst people on earth for just being good women and men. You need to speak up. You need to be part of the political solution, because if you're not, then you will be cordoned off and eventually picked off. And see, you understand that you teachers, and you can get a job somewhere. You know, you're a good teacher, you're always going to have a job. I mean, really. But you know something different. You know that you built a relationship with a kid that you're supposed to stay with all the way till they graduate. You know, it ain't cool for you to give up on them. You know that you're supposed to do more than just keep your job. You know that you're supposed to keep this kid afloat, because this kid is this far away from making that decision. You understand that bad decisions is just a snap away. You understand that when you exist in the spaces that your children exist, they're just a moment away. We're not talking about big, colossal, have to plan a caper decisions. We're talking about somebody's walking home, somebody sees somebody, they decide to rob them, that kid is there, in the story. We're not talking about something that deep. This is not news to anybody in here, and if it is, don't shake your head. Your schools are not just schools, they're home. Your students will more likely remember the experience that they had with you than any other academic experience they will ever have in their lives. You mean more to them than people who are related to them. In fact, you are surrogates to many of them, right? They tell you they love you. When they get married, they're going to invite you to the ceremony. When they have good news, they're telling you. Because if they tell somebody at home is going to make them feel some kind of way about, oh, you think you're so smart. You are the reason why they live beyond their wildest dreams. It's the support that you provide to them that you now need to provide for one another. Your founders have done something amazing. To me, the most revolutionary thing that you can do is to educate people for whom education is not supposed to be accessible. To me, the most powerful and revolutionary thing that you can do is fight for somebody's right to learn. In this country that says, bring us your tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to be free, we do not promise anything other than access to education. I mean, if the GOP has their way, you won't even get health care, but that's a whole different conversation. When you give children access to an education, you give them access to the rest of their lives. We know that every single indicator of quality of life is impacted by education levels. But you can't fight in a silo. You can't fight with your hands down. And this is a fight. You do understand that you really are fighting for your lives, not for your jobs, but for the lives of the children who depend on you. They signed up for something that said that when you come here as a freshman, you're going to stay with me till you're a senior. I got you every day. I'm your guy. If you need me, you call me. You need love, I got it. You need more, I'll give you more. I'll give you more until I don't have any more to give, and then I'll borrow from somebody else. I can't make it any clearer to you than to say to you that you owe it to one another to get to know one another in a very real way. Spend some time saying hi to somebody here and communicating with one another and understanding that it's not just enough that you teach in your school, but that you understand that you are just like all the freedom fighters that have come before you. Every single freedom fighter at the core, what they did, every single revolutionary, that's what they did. They taught people something. They say, hey, man, look at this system. Does this look right to you? They said, hey, these circumstances, does this look right to you? Should it stay this way? Whether this is the Enlightenment, whether it's Malcolm, whether it's Gandhi, whomever it was, they were educating a people for whom the truth had not been told. Your kids think, and they believe this, that they're just not smart. They've convinced themselves. And every single day, you know it, right? You got to convince, no, you're smart. And for you to tell them that, they're like, really? They only try because you believe in them. Well, you deserve support too. So if I can hijack a bit of your conference here, I would just say that before you leave, make sure you get to know people from other schools and really get to know them. For real, get to know them. And when somebody's talking about what can't be done with children, don't let that go. Because just like your child has to separate himself and herself from those people who are closest to them, you can be at that same party. Just like this kid has to separate himself from his family, you might have to separate yourself from yours. See, because freedom fighters don't come here for comfort. They come here for results. You got to do something. Education is a contact sport. There's too much money on the line to keep the status quo. There are too many people in positions of power who are benefiting from the fact that our children don't have access to a quality education, and all they've done wrong is be born poor. You met the reason why I am in this position today. You met the reason why I feel compelled to tell you my story. I owe him, and I will repay my debt. You owe your children because they pay a lot every single time they come into your school and dare to dream beyond their wildest dreams and convince themselves, if even only for one moment, that they might be smart. Fight for them because they are yours. Love them because they love you. And give them everything you got. Because one day, you might be backstage making a grown man cry. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
So right here is our Disruptive Innovator Award. There are 3 in the world. This is the 3rd. I'm going to take my knife out and carve in Mr. Dr. Steve Perry here. I didn't know about that. This hammer was made by a man who owns the last foundry in Chicago. Hand forged, wood hand hewn, hand carved. all original. He takes on our students in Chicago, teaches them how to be blacksmiths. That's what they love. So we give this to you, and thank you for your wonderful story. I told Angelo, after he told his story, I told the group, and I said, we ask our students to tell their stories. We have to tell ours, and you did that today. I really appreciate that. We all do. Thank you.
Now you can use that as to help you as education is a contact sport.
You know I ain't getting on nobody's plane with this. Jesus, thank you so much. First of all, you send me a white guy with a kufi. Got people coming from behind. I'm getting out of this place. Y'all play too much. So I had a couple minutes before I got to get out to Chicago and make some people really unhappy. They paid for it. If you have any questions, I want to do what I can to answer them as quickly as possible. I'll repeat them. You're not going to be able to make it through there. You are too big, brother, to be trying to. No, you're a muscular guy, man. That's what I'm saying. I got you, bro. Any questions? All right. That's always a good sign that y'all ready to go get something to eat. Oh, wait. Right. So he asked, what can I tell him about what to expect? I don't know. What I can say is based upon what I know about your school, you're prepared. And what that means is your project management skills are going to always be vital. Your ability to be able to work with others is going to be vital. And humility doesn't hurt. You could never be kind enough and considerate enough. Talent will only take you so far. But at some point, a simple hello and goodbye will take you so very far. Yes, ma'am. That is the best question. Thank you so much. So the question was, what suggestion do I have to getting in political struggle? So there are a number of ways. And one of them, many of you are in a teachers union. Start there. Gain control of your organization because they take money from you too. And control the politics of that organization. That's one place. Another place is, one of the good things about the blogosphere or tweeting and texting and all those things is that it gives your voice the same platform as anybody else. People do not know that you are out there. I don't know what you have for a community conversation, but you represent 30,000 children in this room. Let me give you a very brief. That's bigger than the city of Hartford, the entire city. The capital city of Connecticut, your schools you have greater, and plus you go across more school systems. So you represent a greater swatch of educators and students than most schools and school systems. So go, one, gain control of those unions so that they speak to the needs of children. Two, speak. You have to speak, whether it be in personal conversations or broad conversations. You have to communicate your message and keep it going. And then finally, traditionally, do not support candidates who do not support school choice. Do not. And I want to make this clear, I'm not pro-charter, I'm not pro-magnet, I'm not pro-neighborhood, I'm not pro-homeschool. I'm pro good school. And if you're not a good school, I don't care what your tax status is. I think you need to be shut down. We have to find the tie that binds. Well, the tie that binds for us is choice. And so you guys have to go to the Board of Education meetings. You just I mean, it really is that. You have to do those things. You don't have to go all the time, but you have to make your presence known. We stand back because so many of you are so good at focusing on the needs of children that you focus on the direct needs of children, but you don't focus on the political needs of children. Well, your children's political interests are not being considered by anybody. NAACP has been bought and sold by the teachers union, and many other civil rights leaders and individuals they work for them. You have to speak for the children. All they've done is the same thing I did, was just to be born poor. That's not a crime, man. That just can't be seen as a life sentence. It can't be. So you got to get involved, and you got to speak up, and you guys have to speak. I mean, write articles, write editorials in the newspaper, because people think that you're not there, right? My sons are fond of Horton Hears a Who. Person's a person, no matter how small. You guys get everybody together and make a big, big noise, and somebody's gonna hear you. Somebody's gonna hear you, and they'll start to listen. Many of the governors in states, whether it be Democrat or Republican, they support your cause. They just don't think that you have their back. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Question was, how do I think business communities and schools can come together to make education work? You're doing it. I didn't get into the wonky conversation around pedagogy and school design, because you have a solid school design and a great pedagogy. Learn what you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job. I mean, seriously. And so we're clear, in case you can't tell. I wouldn't have told you that if I didn't believe it. So what you're doing works. You have a model that works. And for the right students, it's the right school. For the right teachers, it's the right school. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every school should not be designed for everybody. Nothing is. Cars are not designed for everybody. Even those one-size-fits-all things don't fit everybody the same way. Okay? So what you're doing. But again, you guys got to speak up. You have to speak up. Otherwise, I'm telling you what's going to happen. I mean, so I know at least Camden, is it? In Camden, they're coming to shut y'all down? Or trying to? Not fresh. Every one of you should be somewhere near that city to make sure that your brothers and sisters over there are taken care of. Some of you are within driving distance. That's not okay. They love their kids just like you love yours. Get there. So that's an example. What can you do politically? Go there. Go there and stand up for him. Every single time he can't go to a board of education meeting, one of you goes. Time a letter can't be written, you write one. Too many smart people in this room with too much capacity to allow it to just happen. Close one of the best schools in the city? Really? And you guys just do what? Wow, that sucks. It's too bad. No. Get in some cars, on a bus or train, get down there, and do something. Got an education because you want to change people's lives? That'll do it. Let people know you're out there. Let people know you're out there. Do not leave them alone. Do not leave them alone. Do not leave them alone. Don't leave any one of you alone. And if anybody's scores or other performances are not where they need to be, work with them to make sure that they're good, because not one of us can afford to have a bad school within our network. And that's real. Because all the politics in the world ain't going to change the fact that the numbers don't lie. So when you see one of your brothers and sisters who's running the school and it's not going so well, reach out to them, because their success drives your access. Call over to them. Hey, man, you mind if I come through and see if I could help you out? Or, you want to talk to someone, want us to send one of our teachers over to come rap to you? You don't have to wait for central office to come and tell you to do that. They don't, right? They don't need permission to call each other, right? Reach out. Send a quick text, tweet, whatever. Yo, how y'all doing? Heard you had a tough year on your Regents exams. Is there something we can do? You know, we had that trouble too. Let's sit down and let's see how we can build on this. I remember you from when we met in Providence last time. Let's see what we can do to have a conversation about that. Because all the politics in the world can't change the fact that they're the facts, and your children need to perform well. Because that's really what I support. I don't just support us, I support success. I'm a big fan of that. All right. Folks, I thank you so much. Thank you, Brother Dennis.
And don't worry, Dr. Perry, we are not going to make you try to get on the plane with that. We'd be happy to ship that to you. And without question, we will not let anything happen to MedEast. So we are completely behind MedEast and the great work that they've been doing for years. So as a network, that doesn't even come into question. Two quick things before we wrap up, folks. Once again, I want to thank Dr. Perry for his time and for joining us. Thank you. Message aligned and on point. So thank you for your time.